What is up, everybody? Bootman here, and we are here with our very first Deadlock video. Deadlock is a brand new game that is in early development from Valve. This game, there's been a lot of rumors floating around about what it is, what it's gonna be, and I have actually been in the early play test for a few weeks now, and I am hooked, all right? So in this video, I'm gonna give you a complete beginner's guide to get you started on Deadlock. Right now, you do need an invite, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people already playing, so you might be able to get in, all right? But I'm gonna break down picking your hero, the different laning phases, the maps, the items, and so many other little things that I wish I knew when I first started, all right? But before we get started, if you're new here, hi, my name is Chris. I also go by Bootman, and yeah, I hope to be making some Deadlock content. I have always loved shooters, I've always loved MOBAs, so I will be your #1 source for how to play this game and get better at it. All right, so let's jump into this thing. So first things first, we're going to be looking at your heroes, okay? So think of this kind of like many other games, all right? You have people who are healers, you have people who are like tanks, you have people who are more DPS, okay? So go through them, check out their abilities, and again, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, all right? Because I will be doing more in-depth hero breakdowns and how their abilities work and different builds for them and all that stuff. But anyway, this is just a broad overview to get you started, all right? So take a look at the different characters, the abilities. You might want to play for a while and see how it works and see like which heroes might suit you best. So what you're seeing right now is that they actually have a priority system in the game. So when you load up, you have to pick at least 3 characters that you are willing to play, all right? Because the character you want to play might not be available, all right? And this is from a recent update where you're able to pick 3 different tiers. So what you do is you're going to right click on the hero that you want, okay? So the 3 priorities are white, yellow, and purple, okay? So white means like, okay, I'm down to play this character. This character, okay, cool. All right, yellow means like, it is like second highest priority. Like this is my second pick. Your top pick is going to be purple. And you can select multiple heroes as purple, yellow, or white, okay? So this is great. So not too long ago, before this recent patch, it was basically, you can only pick 2 priorities, so it's really cool that you can now pick 3. So pick the people that you want to play the most. If there's only 1 character that you want to play the most, select that purple. But anyways, that is how that works, and then you're gonna load up and get into the game, okay? So now I want to talk about the genre of the game. After you figured out what hero you want to play, let me really pound this into your head just so you can be like the best new player that you can be, okay? Listen to me very carefully when I say this, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is more of a MOBA than a shooter, all right? Let me repeat that for the people in the back. This is more of a MOBA than a shooter. If anybody's telling you this is like Overwatch, they're wrong. Don't ever listen to them again, okay? This game is more of a MOBA than a shooter. The reason why I'm emphasizing that is how much you die in this game is like the biggest deal ever, okay? So for example, in a shooter, right, in like Overwatch or even Marvel Rivals, which I've been playing a lot lately, if you die, you're kind of a pain to your team, right? You're not there for team fights and stuff like that. There's respawn time and all that kind of stuff. And it's better if you get some frags rather than dying all the time, right? Well, in this game, a huge aspect of this game is the economy. The more you die, the more the other team kills you, the more money that you're giving them, okay? We're about to go over items and builds and stuff like that, but the more money you give them, the more the stronger that they get, all right? So what I'm saying is the #1 beginner tip for everybody, okay? Because I used to suck. I used to suck so bad at this game. I'm a little bit better, all right? Is just, if you're not great at the game yet, just don't die. Do whatever you can to die. Practice your movement, learn the map, learn different places to hide. Don't keep rushing in by yourself to try to take out their team. It's never gonna work out for you. If you're new, you're gonna be playing against people who understand this game. So just don't feed. That should be your #1 priority. If you don't get a single kill, but you also don't get a single death, beautiful, all right? Because if you're on a team and you are dying 5, 10, 15, 20 times, your team will not be able to bounce back from that because you will turn somebody on the opponent's team into an absolute monster of a player, all right? So again, let me just say this one last time. Do not feed in this game. Your top priority should be not to die, all right? As you get more used to the game, you'll understand what kind of fights you could take. You can start checking out the opponent's builds, see who's strong on their team, but the last thing you wanna do is run around by yourself, try to stay with your team in this game. All right, I could do a whole video on that, but I'm gonna try to end it there. Again, just don't feed. All right, so let's talk about how this game is set up. So again, it's like a MOBA. So if you've played Dota or League of Legends, these are set up with like 3 lanes, all right? So in Deadlock, there are 4 lanes, all right? So the 4 lanes are split up by color. And if you're communicating with your team, there's in-game chat. My buddies and I, we sit on Discord, but communicate, hey, I'm on this lane, or people are coming to this lane, and name it by the color, all right? And you're gonna see these like zip lines above, and that's how you go from your spawn to the lane. And the way these zip lines work, or they're called like transit lines, the way these zip lines work is they go as far up as your creeps will go. So if you go and take out the enemy towers and your creeps are pushing up, your zip line or transit line will go further down that lane towards their base. But the opposite is true as well. If the opponent team is taking out a lane and pushing up, their zip line will go further, which means when you're taking out their lanes and pushing it down, if you go back to base, right, to go buy or go heal or whatever, you can travel a bit further down their lane to catch up with your team and push their base and all that, all right? So during the laning phase, that is the early game. And remember these phrases too, because it's gonna be important when we talk about builds. But during the laning phase, which is very, very early, you're going to want to focus on getting creep kills and denying. So I've played both Dota and League. I think in League of Legends you can't deny, but I know in Dota you can. But anyways, you get money by killing creeps and blowing up the souls that pop up above them. You have to shoot them, all right? You deny by when the other team is killing creeps, and you'll see a little orange soul float above, and you'll want to deny them. So when you deny them, you're denying the other team money, and you're taking the money for yourself. So one of the most difficult parts when I first started playing this game was managing your magazine size, because if you're a newer player and you're not really paying attention to your magazine size, what'll happen is you'll last hit creeps with the last bullets in your weapon, and then you won't be able to get the soul, which leaves the other team open to deny. So you wanna make sure that you have at least 2 in the chamber when you're finishing off creeps. So this is very, very important for early game. All right, then we move to mid game and then late game, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we dive into the builds. All right, so let's break down the map. As we just discussed, the map as a whole is broken down into 4 different lanes. Now, look on the map. There are little symbols on the map, okay? So the first thing to recognize are the shops. The shops are where you're going to buy your items. Again, this is like a MOBA, all right? So you're going to be buying items, you need to go to shops. So the first shop that you're gonna have the easiest access to is right next to your first tower, all right? When you spawn, you go out to the first tower, that shop is right there. That is your easiest place to buy. A lot of things that you're gonna buy early game are 500 souls, okay? So those shops are also indicated on the map because there's a couple secret shops sprinkled throughout the map that you can run to. So recognize those icons so that way you don't have to run all over the place or go all the way back to spawn to buy something, because there is a shop back in your spawn as well. Now, very important to note, the shops that are on your lane, those are open as long as your tower is there, okay? So this is something that you can use as part of your strategy. So the sooner you take out the enemy's tower, the sooner their shop is closed. Now they're going to have to go all the way back to base or find one of the neutral secret shops where everybody can go to buy something, all right? But same goes in reverse. If they take out your shop, now you're at a disadvantage and you're gonna have to go back to base or find a secret shop in order to buy something, all right? So notice the shop icons around the map. The next thing on the map are the creep spawns. These are little triangles indicated on the map, and creeps are just like jungling in Dota or League of Legends. So you can find these throughout the map. So as you're like running around like maybe mid-game and you're going from lane to lane, doing your ganking, getting all the frags, helping carry your team, all that, you're gonna run into these little creep camps. You can stop, take them out, get some extra souls to get some more money. Now, on the map, they are indicated as like easy, medium, and hard based on like a triangle and then little lines underneath, as you'll see on the map. So the easy ones, you can pretty much kill them early game. The other ones, the like medium and hard ones, you're gonna need a little bit more better items in order to take those out. Or if you have a teammate nearby, you know, you just say in voice chat or whatever, like, yo, come on over here, help me out with these creeps real quick. Now, and I'll dive into these two concepts a little bit more in a minute, but if you notice on either side of the map, these little symbols, not these, there's only one. This is the soul urn, okay? So the soul urns are indicated on the map, and it'll also, the square will turn red when the enemy team has a soul urn. Again, I'll dive more into this in a second. Next is this big old symbol in the middle of the map. This is mid-boss. So in Dota, think of this as like a Roshan, or in League of Legends, I forgot what that's called, but it's like the big boss. You usually need your team there, so you gotta strategize in order to take it out, right? Those are the basic things you need on the map. There are also teleporters on the map, which are indicated by these little arrows. I don't really use the teleporters too much. They haven't really come into play too much for me, but anyways, those are the basics of the map. So next up, let's talk about builds, okay? So you've picked your hero, and now you gotta build items for it. Now, one of the absolute coolest features of this game, it's a feature that I didn't even know I wanted, is that there are community builds that you can get. So, builds are, you know, the items that you're putting on your character to make them stronger. Each character is gonna have different builds that make them better. Some of them are gonna go more DPS, some of them are gonna go more tanky, you know, some of them are gonna focus on healing. So, the best feature in this game is when you go over to the top right corner, there's something that's called Browse Builds, okay? And you can look at the community builds, and people from the community, they make builds and they put them in the game. And then what those hearts mean on the side is how many people have favorited those builds. So oftentimes you could just go to the top build and favorite that and then just use that build. That's probably the best thing you can do as a beginning player, but for every hero, every single character that you play, there will be community builds for it. Now, I will say this as a caveat. As you start playing this game, you get more used to this game, you start learning more items, you play against more players, you're gonna start wanting to like adjust these builds. You might even wanna make your own builds. You'll be like, okay, this build is very popular, but I think I can improve upon it, all right? But, you know, as an early game player, like you just really want to just like focus on those community builds and just use those. They also do, the game comes with like a suggested build for each character. And to be honest, before I learned about the community builds, those default builds, the suggested ones from the game, are pretty decent. So either way, you're gonna have some builds at your disposal, all right? So take a look at that, mess around with them a little bit later, okay? So now let's talk about leveling up your heroes. So the other thing that's a little bit different about this game, in a lot of other MOBAs, you level up your heroes based on experience. Well, your experience in this game, your quote-unquote experience, comes from souls. So this game, remember I was telling you not to feed if you're a new player? This game heavily emphasizes the economy of the game. You level up your hero by gathering souls. So if you're on a lane, if you're early lane and the other team keeps denying souls, you're gonna fall behind not only in money, but in levels. So they're gonna get their ultimate abilities before you. They're gonna get just, you know, even just leveled up abilities faster than you. So as with many other MOBAs, you have 4 abilities. You have 3 regular abilities, and then you have an ultimate ability, all right? And when it comes to these abilities, there is no mana that you need for these. These are 100% based on cooldown. And you'll see that there's items that are, for cooldown and everything like that. It's if you want to reduce them and all sorts of fun stuff. The items in this game are super cool. I think they could, adjust some of them. Some of them are busted, some of them are too weak, and there's some good ideas. But the devs are really cool. Like, there's a forum for this. Once you get invited to the game, you can join the forum. And recently they added a new item, and it was completely based off of a forum recommendation, all right? So again, like when you're going through the hero picking phase, kind of take a look at their abilities and everything, and you'll get an idea of what kind of character they are and how you want to level them and stuff like that. Now, when you go to the community builds as well, they do have an ability suggestion, like how you want to level them. Like, do I want to level a 3 ability before my 2 and all that kind of stuff, all right? So next up, let's talk about the item slots. So down in the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that you have 4 groups of 4, okay? And we'll start out that there are 3 different types of items. There's weapons, vitality, and spirit, okay? So weapons, those improve your gun damage. Vitality, those are gonna be a little bit more about survivability. It might give you tankiness. It might give you health regen. And then there is spirit. So spirit is your ability damage. Listen to me carefully, because it took forever for this concept to sink in for me. Spirit is like your ability damage, okay? That's what it is. So you're gonna see a lot of items that are talking about like spirit power and all these other things. Spirit is your ability damage, all right? So in the bottom, you'll see that there's 4 groups of 4, and you are able, right off the bat, you can have 4 items for each type of slot, okay? So you can have 4 weapon items, 4 vitality items, and 4 spirit items. And now you're like, but Bootman, what about this 4th block that's all locked up? What do these little locks mean? Well, my friend, that's where the game gets a little bit more complicated, all right? So those are what are called flex slots, okay? These slots unlock as you accomplish things in the game, okay? So to open up that first flex slot, you need to take down an enemy walker. So as you're going down the lane, first you have like the guardian tower, okay? Then the second tier of tower, quote unquote, is a walker. Once you take out, or somebody on your team takes out the first walker, you open up a flex slot. This is something that you'll find as you get more used to this game. This is like pretty important, because if you're like in the mid to late game and you haven't taken out a single walker, you're gonna notice that you have more money than you need without like open slots. So you're going to want to communicate with your team, or if you can sneak up a lane and take down a walker. As you get stronger, you can pretty much solo a walker, but that opens up a flex slot, okay? And I can't emphasize this enough. This is huge in this game, is opening up those flex slots, because if not, then you're going to have to play a little game where you decide which items you want to sell, which items you don't need. Now, some of the builds, or you'll start to get used to it, some of the early build items that you were buying like early on your lane that were only like 500 souls, you can start getting rid of those. And similar to other MOBAs, some of these games are recipes, so some of them won't take an extra slot, you're just upgrading them. For example, a common item that you might get is like bullet armor or spirit armor, which are kind of self-explanatory. One blocks bullets, one blocks ability damage. They don't block them, they just like kind of give you like a little bit, they give you bullet resist or spirit resist. Anyways, then you can get improved bullet armor, improved spirit armor, and those hang on to the same slot. All right, anyways, I kind of took a detour there. So first flex slot is killing one lane's walker. To open up your second flex slot, you need to defeat all 4 walkers on all 4 lanes. The third flex slot, you need to defeat one of the base's guardians. So after the walker, then there is the guardians at the base. And then to open up the 4th flex slot is to defeat one of their shrines. Their shrines are located in their base. There's 2 in each base, so that'll open up all 4 flex slots. And to be honest, by the time you open up the 4th flex slot, you're most likely in a position where you're gonna win pretty soon, but there are some games that are pretty crazy. And something I'll touch on real quick is this game, as far as like lengthwise and the depth of the game, I would relate it a lot more to Dota than League of Legends. All right, so these games can go longer. We've had some games that push close to an hour. If you roll a team or if they roll you, the games can be as short as about 15 minutes. All right, so I did tell you we were gonna circle back to soul urns. So remember on the map how I told you they're indicated on the map? So the soul urns, they're going to spawn, the first one spawns 10 minutes into the game, and they're going to be on the inside of the yellow and the purple lanes, okay? So it's randomized where the soul urn will pop up. So the soul urn will pop up either or on purple or yellow. Then you have to return the soul urn to the opposite side. And you're like, Chris, well, why does that matter? All right, so if you're personally the person who captures the soul urn, you receive 25% bonus souls and +1 ability point. And the rest of the reward is spread out among your team. So this is something that's really important because you can shift the momentum of the economy, right? Because sometimes the other team's out farming you, which means that they're higher level, they have better abilities. But if you can sneak a few soul urns, it'll give you a massive boost, all right? So you definitely wanna get those, but you can't just go run around grabbing these soul urns. There is a disadvantage. So once you pick up the soul urn, you cannot cast abilities and you cannot shoot your weapon. You do get a little bit of a speed boost to help you deliver the soul urn, but the only damage you could do is melee damage. Did I mention that? You can melee attack in this game. We'll talk about that in another video as we go over some more in-depth strategies, all right? So you can get that soul urn and then you run it. You can be sneaky. Sometimes you'll like run all the way back to your base and do like the long round and return it. But as I mentioned, when the opposing team has a soul urn, the return spot will turn into a red indicator. That says, hey, these people have the soul urn. If you drop the soul urn and it stays on the ground too long, it just disappears, all right? So sometimes you could drop the urn, take a fight, pick it back up, and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, soul urns are very important for controlling the economy of the game. All right, next up, told you we were gonna circle back to this as well, is the mid-boss. So the mid-boss, you can't just go kill it at any times. One, just because it has kind of like a safeguard on it. Two, because it takes a minute to kill. So the other team might come and gank you if you're not paying attention. So the importance of killing the mid-boss is it comes with some big benefits. When you kill the mid-boss, your team will respawn 50% faster, which is huge. It's huge because as you get towards mid and late game, it's taking you like 60 seconds to respawn. So if you can get that down to 30 seconds, that means you can be a little bit more aggressive, die, and just come right back, all right? So you get a 50% increase on your respawn time. You get a 50% increase on the HP of your creeps that are pushing lanes, and you also get increased fire rate, all right? So everything about killing the mid-boss helps you be a bit more aggressive. So you wanna kill the mid-boss, you don't want the other team to kill the mid-boss. So when you kill the mid-boss, there will be a like crystal, I don't know the exact term for it, but there's like a crystal that drops down. It drops slowly, very slowly down to the middle, and then you have to do a heavy melee attack, all right? So by default, your melee attack is Q on your keyboard. You hold Q to do a heavy melee attack. So you have to break that crystal, but you can steal it from the other team. So if the other team is doing mid-boss and you sneak in there at the right time, you can steal it for them. Or if your team comes in there to fight and try to challenge it, and they kill the mid-boss, that's a good time to steal it. I'm just giving you some pointers because, not to toot my own horn, but I am probably the best mid-boss crystal stealer in the game. I'm just kidding with you, but I've stolen quite a few of these things, all right? So just a tip to everybody out there, I don't care if you're a new player or an experienced player, just do not go after the mid-boss unless like the other team is probably at least 3, 4, or 5 people down, all right? The mid-boss, unless your team is just insanely beefy, it's gonna take a minute to kill, all right? The mid-boss is gonna focus on you, it's gonna attack you, it has an insane amount of health, and if you go in there, like I've seen just too many people, even my team at times, go in there far too early, try to take the mid-boss, the other team comes and ganks you, steals it, and it's just a hot mess. Because not only does your whole team die, But now you have the longer respawn and they just get to push, and if they die, they come right back. It's a hot mess. So please, please, please do not go after the mid boss unless you've killed anywhere from like 3 to 5 people on the other team, and there's like a decent amount of time for them to respawn. Like if they're all about to respawn in like 3, 4, 5 seconds, don't, all right? One strategy that you can do is like, hey, we're taking a team fight. As you're taking that team fight, say, hey, if we take out X amount of people, let's shift over, take out the mid boss, all right? Next up is these veils. You'll see these little kind of gray walkways that you can go through, and these are called veils. So these can be really cool for strategy because they're kind of like a one-way mirror, okay? So you can see from one side of it, but you can't see through the other side of it. You'll notice on some of the lanes that you'll have a veil right next to your lane, and you can shoot from behind it, meaning that the other team can't see you, but you could see them. Now, they can still hit you, so they can fire blindly into there, but these veils are littered throughout the map, and it's a good way to escape. Like, say, like you get caught off guard, you're getting ganked, you find a veil, you go through it, now they can't really see you. So definitely use these veils to your advantage. There's a lot of times early game where if the other people on my lane are being pretty aggressive, I'll just get behind the veil, I'll start shooting them. It kind of like gets them to be a little bit more defensive and less aggressive on the lanes. And there is one item in the game that's kind of cool. It's called Veil Walker. And this is the only item I think that actually interacts with the veils. But it says, walking through a cosmic veil grants you stealth, increased movement speed, restores all bullet and spirit shields, and grants bonus fire rate for your next magazine. So it's like, it's kind of a cool ability. So if you're like a ganker, if you're somebody running around a lot and trying to catch people off guard, like this can be a good one. Next up, I want to go over just like real quick how the lanes are like kind of set up when you first start out, because I honestly just learned this the other day and I've been playing for a couple weeks. So the way the game's set up is you have the 4 lanes. 2 lanes are going to have 2 people, and 2 lanes are going to have a solo person, all right? This is 6v6. So, and the other team is going to be set up in the exact same way, okay? And the thing that I just now recently learned, when you first jump into the match and people are loading in, if you hold tab and look at the top, it'll show you who you're on a lane with. And if you join the game in a party, so say I queue up with a friend, the game is going to try prioritizing putting me and my friend that I queued up with on the same lane, okay? Now, it's been a little finicky. Sometimes it's like real finicky, right? Like I remember one time we queued up, there was 3 of us, and like 2 of us were on lanes with a random, and then 1 person was soloing, all right? But for the most part, it's gonna queue up. But when you hit tab, it's gonna show you what lane that you're on, and then like also as you take the transit line out of it, you'll kind of see that, okay? And like, you'll start getting used to the game. If you have like a tough lane or you have like a bad matchup on your lane, communicate with your team, swap lanes, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so the last tip that I'm gonna give for all of you beautiful beginners jumping into the world of Deadlock is watch good players. Watch good players, watch good players. This is something that I should have done early on. When you go to the main screen of Deadlock, it's going to say watch, and it'll show you how many matches are live, all right? On the very first screen, it's going to say featured matches. There is like a built-in MMR system, which I'll rant about later on, but there is a built-in MMR system, supposedly, and on the featured matches, those are like top-ranked players. So if there's a hero that you want to learn, check out the featured matches, jump in there, see who's playing the hero that you like, and just watch them, all right? You wanna try to jump in there early, like for me, like early game's really important, like what the build order is for your abilities, what items that you're getting first, and all that kind of stuff. So watch good players. Now, another cool feature that they only recently added is that you can now filter it for friends only. So for example, I play with my buddies and sometimes I'll jump in late. Well, I can filter it to friends only, and I can watch them play while I wait. And another thing they just added is that there's now a 1-minute delay. Up until like a week ago, there was no delay at all. So you can just watch and ghost and do whatever. Not that I ever did that, but Now there's a 1 minute delay on it, okay? And this game also has like, you can search by match ID. It has replays. You can like save replays, look at your stats. That's something for another day, but the replay system is like very, very cool. I like the spectating mode, all that. But yeah, something I should have done a lot sooner is start watching good players play. All right, but anyways, thanks for hanging out for this video. This video was longer than I expected, but there's a lot to learn. And I barely scratched the surface, okay? I barely scratched the surface. The tutorial on this game is really cool, but like when I hopped into the game, it did not teach me nearly enough. This covered most of the basics, and remember, the number one thing as a beginner is just don't feed. Do what you got to do. Hang up a sign in your next to your computer that says do not feed. Do whatever you can not to feed. Dodge, get out of there, play back. I'll go over some beginner heroes later on. The game does recommend some beginner heroes. But anyways, I need to wrap this thing up. Subscribe. Just subscribe. I love this game. I've been absolutely hooked on it, and I will go more in depth. I have planned like a tier list video. I'll go over like specifically which characters I think are the best for beginners, all right? But subscribe, hang around, all that kind of good stuff, all right? But anyways, thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to, follow me on Twitter. It's at BootmanMSTZ. I have it linked down in the description below. That way you don't miss any videos. I'll be tweeting a lot more about this game in particular, all right? But anyways, that's all I got for this video. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.